She is never given a name. In a book meticulously documenting hundreds of minor figures, from servants and kings to distant relatives mentioned fleetingly, the woman at the heart of one of the Bible's most poignant stories is known only as Lot's wife. Yet before she became a symbol, she was simply a woman who had built a life in Sodom. Her husband held a respected position at the city gate. For her, this city was likely years of neighbors, family meals, married daughters nearby. A home that felt, however imperfectly, like home. In the space of a single sentence, all of that vanishes, and she becomes something else entirely. A pillar of salt, forever caught mid-motion in the act of looking back. It is one of the shortest stories in Scripture. 9 words in the original Hebrew describe her transformation. Those 9 words have haunted readers for more than 3,000 years, provoking a question never fully answered. Why did she turn around? To understand what that single glance cost her, you first need to understand the night she was living through. A night that would sever her from everything familiar without warning. Genesis chapter 19 transports us to Sodom, on the Jordan plain near the modern-day southern Dead Sea. Sodom's reputation for cruelty has reached heaven itself, and 2 angels arrive that evening disguised as travelers sent to investigate and, if the report proves true, to end it. That same night, the men of the city surround Lot's house, demanding access to his guests with unmistakable hostile intent. The angels strike the mob blind at the doorway. By dawn, the verdict is final. This city will not see another sunset. Lot lingers. Even as the angels urge him to gather his family and flee immediately, Lot hesitates. His sons-in-law laugh off the warning, refusing to leave their homes. Precious time slips away during his hesitation, until the angels intervene directly, physically grasping the hands of Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters, leading them swiftly out of the city gates before it is too late. Because the Lord was merciful to him, the text says, not because they were ready, because they were dragged out, half-willing, into the dark, minds likely still tangled in everything left behind, unfinished. Outside the walls, the angels deliver the single instruction the entire story will hinge on. Words that function less like advice and more like prophecy, sealing a fate before it happens. Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stop anywhere on the plain. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. One command, stated with total clarity. Lot, in desperate negotiation, asks to flee instead to a small nearby town called Zoar, rather than the distant mountains, and the angels grant this request. Even the terms of escape are adjusted for his family's fear. What is not softened in any way is that single instruction not to look back. They are pulled through the gates and out into the open plain, a farewell to everything they had known, torn away before they were given the chance to say goodbye properly. Lot and his family are moving toward Zoar as the sun rises fully over the land behind them, and then it begins. The Lord rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire, the text says, from the Lord out of heaven. Some archaeologists studying the southern Dead Sea basin have proposed that natural bitumen and sulfur deposits, combined with a seismic event, could theoretically have produced a catastrophe resembling the biblical description, though this remains a proposed natural explanation rather than an established scientific consensus. The biblical text itself emphasizes this was a specific, intentional act of divine judgment, not a random natural catastrophe. Lot's family is moving forward now, away from the flames, away from everything they have ever known. With every step, hearts pound faster, the roar of destruction ringing behind them. Feeling an entire life reduced to ash is its own unbearable, invisible battle, not merely a physical flight, but a spiritual trial playing out silently between obedience and memory, and then Lot's wife looks back. The Hebrew text uses a single verb, vatabet, and she looked. Not necessarily a lingering stare, not necessarily deliberate disobedience, just one verb, one motion of the head, at the exact wrong moment. And instantly the text says, she became a pillar of salt. No further explanation follows, no internal monologue, no final words. The narrative simply moves on to Lot and his daughters continuing forward, leaving her entirely behind, transformed, motionless, silent for the rest of history. Yet their road onward carries the weight of what was left standing on the plain, and the haunting echo of that single glance. This silence is precisely what has made her the subject of endless debate for 3,000 years. And with every new interpretation, her story is resurrected again, re-examined as a lesson reaching into the deepest corners of human nature. Some interpreters read her glance as simple curiosity, a natural impulse met with an unnaturally severe consequence. Others read it as grief, arguing that a mother looking back toward daughters, possibly still in the city, is maternal anguish rather than defiance. Rabbinic tradition, the accumulated body of early Jewish scriptural commentary, offers another layer. Some commentators tie her transformation to an earlier act of disobedience. A midrashic account claims she withheld salt from guests during a meal that same night, making her transformation poetic justice rather than punishment for the glance alone. Christian tradition has often emphasized the moment as a warning against spiritual regression, looking back longingly toward a life one has been explicitly called to leave behind. Jesus himself references her in the Gospel of Luke. Remember Lot's wife. No elaboration on her motive, only the instruction to remember what happened to her. But was it disobedience at all, or something closer to human hesitation, the involuntary turn of a person unable to process that everyone she knew was being erased behind her in an instant? The text offers only the verb and the immediate, irreversible consequence. Along the southern Dead Sea shore near Mount Sodom stands a well-known salt pillar local tradition has associated with Lot's wife for centuries. The region's salt formations are a genuine, active, natural phenomenon, but whether any specific formation connects to the biblical event remains tradition rather than verified archaeology. Salt itself carries deep symbolic weight throughout the Hebrew Bible, associated with covenant, preservation, and judgment all at once. Her transformation into the very substance tied to both preservation and desolation was never a triumphant outcome. It was not a reward in any conventional sense. It became something else, an irreversible transformation etched permanently into the memory of every generation that has told her story since. Virtually every tradition concurs, irrespective of interpretation, on this story's purpose within the broader narrative. It is not really about Sodom's destruction alone. It is about the cost of divided loyalty at the exact moment total commitment is demanded. The danger of a heart that walks forward while still turned, even briefly, toward what it is being asked to leave behind forever. Lot and his daughters continued toward the mountains, and the text never records them looking back again. But surely her memory, standing motionless on the plain, traveled with them the rest of their lives. She was punished not for slowness or grand defiance, but for one incomplete motion in a moment, offering no room for incompletion. 3,000 years later, we still do not know what she was thinking in that final second. Grief for daughters left behind, disbelief at the finality of it all, or simple human curiosity, the same impulse that makes any of us glance backward at wreckage we're told to walk away from. The text refuses to say, and that refusal is precisely why her story endures. She has no name, she has almost no words, yet she has become one of history's most enduring symbols for a single, universal warning that looking back, even for a moment, even out of grief rather than defiance, can cost you everything you were trying to save. That warning has not aged. Why did she turn around? If you have a theory, share it in the comments, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next ancient mystery is already waiting.